Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon.
We're joined on the Starline by actor, model, singer, and musician. You may have seen him in Scorned or Frienemies on ID Discovery. Currently on tour with the Legally Blonde, the musical. Allegedly only eats biscuits and gravy with iced coffee. We welcome James Oblak.
Hey, Sean, how you doing? Thanks for having me. What an intro that was.
Absolutely great. James, let's go beyond the mic. You roller skate, walk on stilts, play the piano, accordion, and tuba. Why is Warner such a fun role in Legally Blonde?
Warner is such a fun role. You know, if you've seen the movie, you know Warner, he's the guy that Elle Woods is dating in the beginning of the film. And, he dumps her and goes to law school, which is kind of not a nice thing to do. So it's sort of fun to be the villain, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. I would like to consider myself a nice guy in life. So it's just kind of fun to step into those shoes and sort of see how the other half lives. He's very boy band. He's very kind of Wall Street, kind of a more suave version of me. So it's kind of fun to pretend a little bit.
So in your relationships, are you considered the nice guy?
It depends who you ask, but I think so, yeah.
How has your relationship with Hannah and the rest of this cast grown closer from the first show to today?
It's an amazing process. As you said, I've done a few tours and have been doing it for a while, and you really grow close as a family. You travel together, you perform together, you live together in hotels. Hannah Bonnet is an amazing leading lady. She is, the helm of this company and just does it with such grace and is so lovely to work with every night. We're definitely tight, and we're on it together. We go through a lot, great shows, but also moments of we miss our homes, and there's elements to it that are tricky. So we bond. And we are all doing what we love to do. So it really, it keeps morale high.
I've seen video evidence. What's the weirdest thing about Hannah?
Is that a rumor that we heard? I think Hannah...
That's not... Okay, let's get this out of the way. Biscuits and gravy and iced coffee. I've seen video evidence. Is it true or not?
It is true. I survive solely only on biscuits and gravy and iced coffee. It's my favorite go-to breakfast item when we're at the hotel breakfasts. I love biscuits and gravy. And you'll probably catch me with an iced coffee in my hand no matter how cold it's out. So I guess it is true. But you know what, Hannah, I think her weirdest thing is that she loves to hand out stickers to people. She's like a kindergarten teacher. She has her stickers, she hands them out. She gets mad if you don't take one. You got to take her stickers and she has snacks in her dressing room at all times too. So you got to make sure you visit and grab a sticker and a snack at all times.
What's the best snack she shares?
Reese Cups.
You produced your self-titled album during the pandemic. How did that change the way you see your art?
That's a great question. Obviously as an artist, we all had to kind of pivot a bit during the pandemic. I was, just starting a production of a musical that was making its, regional premiere at the time. I'm fortunate enough to have other skill sets. I play the piano, I sing, I've worked with bands and, have headline shows in New York and across everywhere, really. So I was able to kind of lean into that. And, I think the pandemic asked of us, what else can you do? Are you really defined by your art? And if you are, how are you able to kind of mold that and adjust it and just kind of turn the frequency in either direction to stay relevant and successful in a time where, what we were doing was sort of deemed unessential, So I was really excited to be able to, because, my schedule really freed up. I was able to just hone in on my own personal work and kind of bring my own point of view to things, which sometimes when I'm on the road or I'm a part of a television show or a production, we kind of just have to form to that and that company and that role. We have to maintain, the exact same show for months at a time. So the pandemic, even though it closed a lot of roads that I thought I needed to be on, it really kind of allowed me to pave my own exact path for myself.
James Oblak from Legally Blonde, the musical, out on tour right now, joins us beyond the mic. James, what's the best thing about Fire Island during the pandemic?
I was on the beach. It was really cool. That Fire Island was just sort of an accident, honestly. Once everything shut down, a friend of mine and I, we had been out there for a few times. We know some of the bar owners out there that we've worked with them, and we were like, they have staff housing for their, bartenders and their summer staff, but they were empty. So we just kind of looked at that as an opportunity. We reached out, we're like, hey, we know you have these, they're beach shacks, but we were like, It's out in the wilderness. It felt very safe out there. You know, we were then close enough to the city in case we had to be back. But really, one of my best friends and I just kind of like boarded up in a beach shack and we're out there for a while. And I just started playing the piano on the boardwalk one day. That sort of led to another whole different kind of opportunity, you know, which now I have a residency out there. I perform out there in different, you know, venues and parties, and just kind of another way of how being resourceful really pays off as an artist.
When people see Legally Blonde, the musical, for the first time, what do you want them to feel?
You know, if you're a fan of the movie, obviously you're going to love the show. But even if you've never seen the movie, you're also going to love the show. It's super heartwarming. The show really, even though the movie came out so long ago, it's still super relevant in our society today. I'm just very excited about young women that are coming to see the show. You know, the show is about girl power, empowerment. It's about standing up for yourself. It's about being yourself. And, you know, so much, I think, it's hard to do those kinds of things. So it's nice that like in a very cushy musical comedy vibe, you still have this immense amount of heart and soul in the show. And I think that's really what you walk away. You walk away singing, laughing, but also empowered.
James Oblak from Legally Blonde, the musical, joins us beyond the mic, and it's time for the Rocking Aid. It's just 8 random questions. Answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. James, there is no pressure.
I'm feeling the pressure, Sean. Are you sure?
No pressure. Best place on the Wright State University campus?
The Creative Arts Center.
Other than Rod, what character on Avenue Q do you relate with the most?
Princeton.
There is no cheating during the Rocking Aid.
Lucy the slut.
If you could have 10 minutes with any actor or musician, who are you picking? How are you going to spend those 10 minutes?
John Legend. I want to sit down on the piano with John Legend and just pour our souls out together.
Which theater is your favorite of all time?
The Human Race Theater Company, where I did Avenue Q.
What's the best thing to do in Cleveland?
Come swim at the pool at my parents' house.
So, James, who's the troublemaker or practical joker on the cast?
Probably his name's Brandon, and he's the youngest member of our cast, and he is so talented, but he likes to pull little pranks, and he's hilarious.
What's the one comfort item? And there's always one that you bring because you want to remind yourself of home. What's that one comfort item you brought out on tour?
I have this bathrobe that I call my Jedi Knight robe because it has a hood and it's very sleek, and I put it on when I need some extra push
I
to get
love
going.
it! Do you have a secret place to go on vacation?
Ooh. It's a secret. I don't know. I don't really live a secret life. So I'm trying to think of some place I've been that I honestly just like a day, like a stay vacation in New York. You know, I love just taking a day just to go to Central Park, Sheep's Meadow, you know, and just like lay out in the park, just read a book, get lost in a book or something, and just disappear, turn off my phone, and, you know, sort of like a staycation, I think.
If you're enjoying these conversations, please check out another Beyond the Mic episode to find more actors, artists, and people you need to know. We'd also appreciate a like and subscribe on the Good Pods app. James Oblak from Legally Blonde, the musical, joins us Beyond the Mic for the back half. James, how have you changed from middle school to today? And what would you have told your middle school self on this path of adventure and travel?
Yeah, I think that, you know, obviously we mature as we get older. I would hope to think I've matured since middle school. But I think just kind of handling my uniqueness and talent and point of view. You know, I think obviously growing up in Ohio, you know, as like a little piano player, I felt a little bit different, you know, and I didn't realize, you know, really what that meant. And I wasn't able really to hone in on that. And I think I honed in on that when I, you know, got a little bit older into high school and college. And I realized that, you know, like your unique talents are what carry you through your life. You know, I think that I was always pretty confident, but I think just because maybe, you know, I didn't have something to channel that into, it just like, I was a little bit just disruptive, you know, as a middle schooler. I think I was a little bit, you know, scattered. And so I think I just would have told myself just to kind of stay like steadfast, you know, stay like steady in what you're doing, you know, hone in on what it is that like is making you unique, and don't shy away from it. Because, you know, now that I'm like doing my thing and writing my album, you know, my mom, she'd always be like, you're going to thank me one day for dragging you to these piano lessons and making, you know, and I do, you know, I very much do. So maybe I'd also tell myself to listen to my mom a little bit more. I hope she listens to this.
What's the one thing that you do that drives your mom crazy?
I don't know how I do it, but I always get water on the bathroom floor when I'm home.
Ow!
I don't know, like I just always like get the bathroom, like now I'll clean up with a towel, but before I was aware that I did it, it would just drive her crazy. And I have a roommate on tour and he said the same thing. He goes, I don't know what you do, but you managed to get every surface of that bathroom soaking wet. And I'm like, I don't know. I guess I just I'm having a water park or something.
Which musical role is the dream one? I mean, you want to perform, but you have to be patient to get.
If we're talking about a role like in theater or television, I definitely think something that kind of marries all of my special skills, meaning piano, that Moving Out musical came out, the Billy Joel musical. And, that was something that really is the show that got me into the business. The lead singer of that show went to my high school and
A little jealousy there.
No. He was a little older than me. He came and did he came and did like a performance for us. And I was a kid and I saw it and I was like, oh, and everyone said I was Jimmy back then. They called me Jimmy and they're like, Jimmy, that's you. Like, you can do that. Like, that's what you're about to do. And I just like, and it's true. Like, that is what I can do. So I'm just kind of waiting, I think, because like for me, it's, you are patient in this industry. You do have to wait for the right roles. And when it does happen for me, it makes perfect sense, and you can't harbor jealousy if you're not getting it. And you can't, everyone, once you've gone through the highs and lows of the career, you've seen, people, you start to champion for other people too. Like, their moment is just important as your moment. So I think my moment would be like something where I could, they bring back that show or something of that, like where, I could not only act and sing, but like bring in something that makes so much sense to me, such as the piano or just that kind of musical sensibility, that it would just be a no-brainer and it would be mine and it would feel really great to do.
So when you got this role, what was that moment like for you, your parents, your mom?
It was great. I as lots of people say, it always comes at a time when you need it, and you're kind of like, how many more auditions do I have to do? And Warner is just kind of a fantasy role. Like I said, like there are similarities in our personalities, but like I was a little bit surprised, when I was starting to get called back for it. I think that the creative team really leaned into this new version of the show, which sort of they wanted Warner to be a little bit more of a pop singer, a little bit more of a boy band, an updated version, which is not the way I really imagined the role in the beginning. So I was really excited that they saw those elements in me and decided to highlight them and bring them out through auditions and through, presentations to the producers, rather than trying to reinvent the wheel with like someone else, So I think I just was mostly excited that what I did and what I stuck to was actually what they wanted. And of course, my mom shared the same kind of excitement. I think any parent that like watches their kids go into the arts have a certain element of uncertainty with that, And so as you gain more traction and more success, it's just, my parents are extremely supportive now. And, they totally understand like what I'm doing and they'll see the shows and they can. And, I'm very fortunate to have had them, throughout this journey.
When you're auditioning for a role, you're trying not to only fit who you are, but for what the role might need from you. How has auditioning changed you and how you've changed for auditions?
Totally. And in a competitive market of like New York City, if you can't do it, someone else can and will. So I think, what I've taught myself and what like advice I give to like other people doing it is like, just kind of continue to do what you do because it is special. The more you try to think of it from the other way around, being like, what do they want from me? The more you try to fit what you think it is. Sometimes that's not the way. You know what I mean? That's really not. I mean, there's certainly an element to it. Like if you're going in to replace another character on a long running show, you want to kind of adapt what that person did and, they want to see that. But if it's not really that kind of situation, you want to do what you do because then when it works, and then when it doesn't, then you're just trying too hard and then you're not really being your authentic self.
James Oblak from Legally Blonde, the musical, right now joining us. I think he's in Nebraska now, on tour coming to a city near you. James, who is the person that inspired you growing up?
That's a good question. I think, I grew up listening to, different types of music. I have like a big classical music buff, like growing up. I was sort of like in a, listening to just.
So how do you go from classical to pop music?
This is how, because I loved movie scores growing up. And I think that like that is the epitome of emotion, creating emotions through music. You know what I mean? I think like if you watch a film without any music, you don't feel anything. But like movie soundtracks, they are like the backbone of like musical emotion. And so I think I really felt stuff with that. And when I write my own music, I go back to those writers. And when I'm, even watching Broadway shows, it's like those are the moments that really speak to me. I think I'm just always inspired to emotionally connect through something that's bigger than your speech or the way you look, or it's just such a more powerful way of communicating.
So what's your favorite movie music?
John Williams and James Horner, like Titanic, right? Like so good. I'm getting into, he did The Shape of Water recently, Andre Desplat. I might not be saying it correct. So good. And also horror film music. The fact that you could listen to a soundtrack, the woman who won the Oscar for the Joker movie last year, like, and actually be terrified just listening to the music is amazing to me. James,
whose music do you play when you're sad and lonely?
Adele. Probably Adele. Who doesn't listen to Adele when they're sad?
As the road goes on, you move on to the next city. What's the one thing you try to find at each stop?
I do love coffee. You know what I mean? Like I do love a nice coffee shop, and I love a used bookstore. I do get into reading a lot when I'm doing tours, just because you have so many times of travel. And I find that like used bookstores across the country are so interesting because, that saying like one man's trash is another man's treasure. It's like, especially like in different regions of the world, like what you can find, like the gems of stories or books or something specific to that region, or something that, like a book that you could never find in New York, but you can find it in Nebraska on the shelf. You know what I mean? Just because it's like no one wants to read that here. So I do love to find a used bookstore or coffee shop, someplace where I can just kind of be quiet and unwind away from like the hustle and bustle of the theater.
The experience on the road isn't something that someone who hasn't done it would understand. I mean, travel in a bus, hotel room. Then you perform, travel in a bus, hotel, maybe perform again ad nauseum. What have you learned from this adventure?
Sean, that question is so like nice to hear at this point in the tour too, because, we've been doing this for 6 months, we've been doing it for a while. And it's like, it is, you do not realize sometimes how challenging that is, to constantly be called upon to do 8 shows a week on top of traveling. It's very unlike any other job that you could take on. So I think you really learn how to not let like the extra elements affect your performance and affect just your joy personally. You know what I mean? You kind of to learn like, what types of things bring me joy. Also, what types of things don't, like what sort of things like do I need to vibrate and align myself with to continue to be like the person that I want to be. And sometimes that does take, and I'm sure in any career, and, I know talking to my friends that do lots of things, there are always elements of that in every profession, that like you do just kind of have to bury your head in the work and get through. And with theater and performance specifically, it comes with a lot of, disappointment and a lot of, you get so close to achieving your dream, and we're also passionate that like you've got to find ways to sometimes detach from like the passion and just like find something else that makes you happy, such as a coffee shop, or such as, like finding a gym that you can go to exercise or whatever that means for you. I think I've learned that those things are really almost more important than your talent in sustaining a career.
James Oblak from Legally Blonde, the musical, joins us beyond the mic. Everyone defines happiness differently. What makes you happy, and who tries to keep happiness from you? And how do you keep the darkness from overcoming you?
I think, happiness is, being healthy and being able to, call your best friends or your family and having like a support system. And I don't think that a version of me 10 years ago would have said that. I think a version of myself 10 years ago would have said, what I'm doing right now is happiness, like creative and like success, defined by like what you want to be when you're in college for acting, And so I think that as far as protecting it, it's like remembering that you are actually living the dream that you had 10 years ago, and that happiness and your goals are allowed to change. They're allowed to take different shape as you get older. And 5 years from now, like it could be like, I'm ready to settle down and have a family. And like, that will be happiness for me. That like, that's not where I am right now, but it could be later. And so just kind of allowing that change and letting yourself, adapt to where your dreams and goals might lead you.
Other than you, you're surrounded by so many incredible people.
Yo, so much.
Other than you, people go and come, and they come from different shows and they go to different shows. Who on this tour, other than you, will be the next big thing?
Oh,
you talk about rooting for other performers. Who are you rooting for?
Yeah. Well, I was just saying we had like a night off a few nights ago. We all went to a karaoke bar. And I was like, oh my goodness, this cast is so good. Sometimes just the role, you only hear them sing a couple lines here and there, but you're like, wow. So I'm working with a young actress. Her name's Emma Wilcox. And look her up now. We actually got to right before this, we were casting a production of Footloose before. She was Ariel, the leading lady in Footloose. And I played Chuck Cranston, because apparently I'm always cast as a bad guy now. She was so good in that show, so great. And here she is now, we're working together again. And also an outstanding person, you know what I mean? Like someone who is just very solid as a person, hardworking professional. But, and she's in the ensemble of the show, and, she's dancing, she's twirling. It's just funny because it's like, wow, I just saw her lead an entire company over the summer, and she's here in the ensemble. And anytime she gets to step up, she's an understudy and stuff. It's just her light just shines through, and her light shines through in the little, in the role she has in this show too. I definitely have stock in her. She's gonna be a big star. She is now, but look out.
James, when did you know you made it, and what is success for you now?
I honestly think, the album was a huge moment for me. I think writing the album and like getting it out there, and not that like it took off and put me on the map in a different kind of way, but just the bravery it took to like put my like real text and emotion and feelings out there. You always don't think you're ready. Like, oh, this isn't good enough. Like I did it on a budget, and there's moments like it doesn't sound as good as it could be. And it's never gonna be nominated. I'm never gonna be, it's like, it's not gonna make it. But it's just like the fact that I was just like, you know what? I just need to put it out there. That way people can hear it. They know what I'm saying. And then I can have conversations about where to take it. I think that was really the moment for me where I just said, I don't care about how it's received. I need to have this out there. And people that like it, and it's gone, and it's taken me to the next place.
You're a perfectionist.
Yeah, I'm very self-critical. I'm very, I'm a director. I'm judgmental. Like I am a perfectionist. I try not to be, but I think there are definitely elements of wanting to make it perfect for sure.
While we have James Oblak here from Legally Blonde the Musical, we might as well ask him two big questions. Last year, you celebrated the life of your late grandfather, Ed. You pondered about the moment right after death. Do you feel you understand what happens now?
No. I think that we're not meant to understand. I think that we are meant to question that always, and I think that I'm a faith-based person, and, I do think I have an idea of the afterlife and what that means. But I think our jobs as human is just to kind of sometimes keep it a little bit more simple than that, and do what we can with our life now, and have trust and faith that whatever it is, it should be a better place.
Will you share with us the best story of you and your grandfather growing up?
Yeah, my grandpa Ed, he was a really hard worker. He owned a farm. Like he had a cattle farm, which, now that I'm like a big New York City boy, it's really funny that my roots kind of were like the things that you learn on a farm. And he probably wouldn't like me telling this story, but for some reason, and it might not even be my favorite memory, but just, I remember like he would trick me. He would like do little things to me. Like, for example, he like gave me an onion once and he told me it was an apple, and I took a bite out of it, and he would just be like, he was laughing as, you know what I mean? Like, why not like teach this little city boy about, I've watched like cattle be like born, like I've watched like literal birth and death and like all sorts of things, like way too young probably. But I do think that those memories collectively really taught me how somebody can just make a life out of dirt, out of literally nothing. You know what I mean? Like growing crops to sell and grazing cattle out of nothing. Like they came from very, humble, poor beginnings, but to watch someone create that life and raise a family out of literally dirt come on. Like if you don't believe in a higher power, there it is, like that's amazing. And I think that's been instilled with me as I've grown up and worked hard.
His unique talents developed from being disruptive when he was younger, relates to Lucy the Slut, and drives his mother crazy by leaving the bathroom moist. James Oblak is Warner in Legally Blonde, the musical, out on tour right now. James, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Sean, thank you so much. This is a very, very fun interview. I appreciate it.
And that, my friends, is Beyond the Mic. If you're enjoying these conversations, please check out another Beyond the Mic episode to find more actors, artists, and people you need to know. We'd also appreciate a like and subscribe on the Good Pods app.